Hi, everybody. A day late, not a dollar short. Welcome to what should have been the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. That's turned into the Tuesday edition of Moohead Radio, which is just as well because it's a lead into a Cavaliers game. Not that you're probably any more interested in that than you are the Cleveland Browns, but what the hell? We got some time to kill, so let's. And what did Mickey Rooney used to say in the old MGM? Hey, let's have a show. Okay. I hated those movies. And when I was a kid, they still showed them. Now they just sit in the, I don't know, the crevices of somebody's asshole. Before I get into the whole sports thing, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the gunman who killed 26 church worshipers in Texas. It's a tragic event, obviously, and no, I don't agree that it's a mental illness issue, not a gun issue. It's really funny, when Islamic terrorists bomb us and kill us, it's a religion problem, right? It's not a mental illness problem. Oh, you're going to get 72 virgins. Oh, yes, I would buy that. I mean, no, seriously, that's not a mental illness problem, No, that's a religion problem, according to, well, some of these folks anyway. Yet this situation is not an issue of any of guns, but or the availability of guns, but rather of mental illness. And the thing that's amazing about the story is anybody who feels that way is full of shit and should die. Okay. And let me explain why. And I hate to be harsh about this, but I mean, look, let's look at this for what it is. The guy was a member of the United States Air Force. He got court-martialed because he injured his 1-year-old son by shaking him violently and fractured bones and caused a cranial bleed in his son. He repeatedly abused and beat his wife. He punched a dog several times in the face and in the neck. Now we find out he was in a mental institution and escaped. We know that he was court-martialed and amazingly only given 1 year in the brig. Thank you for your service. And to make matters, of course, far worse, that after all of this knowledge, the Air Force didn't tell anybody about what a danger he was. And he walked into an Academy sports store and he bought deadly weapons. And of course, then he went into a church and killed 26 innocent people. But this is not a problem about the availability of guns. It's okay to have guns and even to allow mentally impaired people to have open access to guns. You should be the one, if you believe that way, to be sitting in those pews and get your fucking heads blown off. You should be the one, not the people sitting in the church. And you know that I've seen this spun. Well, the guy was an atheist. And the fucking Jesus people want the guns. And they're the ones who were lambs to the slaughter. We live in a sick fucking country today, man. Sick fucking country. Honest to God. Nobody will take on the National Rifle Association. And you know something? If you're a right-wing religious person, you got to believe in your guns. You got to believe in your guns, even if it kills your own people. And then you have to blame it on atheism. Like there's millions of fucking atheists in America, and they don't beat their wives. They don't injure 1-year-old children. And they don't murder 26 people in cold blood, women, men, and children who are crying inside of a church. You want to believe this way? Go fuck yourselves. Fuck you and your goddamn right-wing religion. Fuck you. Because these people are real people. And it doesn't matter whether the people who were killed were Christians. They're people. What does it matter what they are? What does it matter how we label them? Why? Why does it matter if they're black or they're white? Y'all hate, Black Lives Matter. You hate that shit, but now Christian lives matter. But they don't even matter to Christians because they prefer the guns over the 26 people who got shot. And he's an atheist. We got to label everybody because we're all full of shit. That's why. 26 innocent people are dead, and that's all I know. And I don't care what their backgrounds were. They were sitting in church, as is their right and want to do. And somebody walked into the church and blew their fucking heads off. And if you can find an anti-atheist argument in this, fuck you, die. Die now. Leave my country. It's going to get a lot worse, folks. And what's going to happen is the liberals are going to get guns. And when they do, there's going to be blood in the streets. That's all I have to say. And I'm fucking pissed about this. Can you believe it? A guy who escaped from a mental institution who got court-martialed from the military could walk into an Academy sports store and buy guns and ammunition and kill 26 people after beating his wife and damn near killing his 1-year-old baby. Wow. All right. I'm done with that. Let's talk sports, shall we? and the reason I'm doing this, I lead off the show this way because it's the only way I can make the Cleveland Browns appear a little more pleasant in your life. Let's be honest about it. The Cleveland Browns are an absolute mess. But I have a theory, a hunch about Hue Jackson and Sashi Brown. And, I look at their words and I say, here's the deal. Obviously, Hue Jackson wanted McCarron. But Hue Jackson ain't talking. And I'm going to be able to explain to you why he should not be brought back as coach. And we'll talk about Sashi Brown in the front office too, all right? But the thing that's amazing to me is that Hue Jackson, right after Sashi Brown speaks, Hue Jackson says nothing in his press conference. Says nothing. I'm not going to address this. I'm not going to address that. I mean, listen to Hue Jackson's words. Let me first start this off. I know Sashi addressed you guys earlier instead of, he got to you first. I'm not going to take any questions about anything that happened last week here. You may try. I'm not going to answer. I'm going to be very honest with you, but I'm not going to answer the questions. But I'm going to be honest, but I'm not going to answer the questions. Like you were honest to Deshaun Kaiser. Honesty is not Hue Jackson's strong suit, folks. Some other comments. I'm going to say it again. I came here to win. For the first time you guys met me, I said I came here to win. I'm trying to salvage my future. I came to turn this organization around and make it better. But for whatever reason, we are all accountable to this. Not just the coaching staff, but the front office. We all are. It's a top-down deal. We have to get that done, and we haven't got that done. In other words, Hugh saying, if I'm going down, they're going down with me. That's the most important thing I'm grappling with now is what I think we all are. We want to win. Until we do that, what it's going to be, and people are going to be, this is what it's going to be, and people are going to keep asking these questions that I refuse to answer. Jackson even deflected questions about whether the Browns called the Patriots about Jimmy Garoppolo. I said earlier when I started, I'm not going to address any of those things at this point. Now, my impression of Hue Jackson. I can't hear you. I can't hear the questions. All right. Why have a fucking press conference to say this shit? Sources have told Cleveland.com, by the way, that Hue pushed for the McCarron trade during the offseason when it became apparent they weren't going to get Garoppolo, and that he was a driving force behind them trying to make the deal on Tuesday after they lost Garoppolo to the 49ers on Monday night. Although he worked side by side with Sashi Brown to help get it done. Now, that's got to be the funniest line I've heard yet. Can you imagine if you subcontracted Sashi Brown and Hue Jackson to effect renovations on your home, and those were the two who were responsible for getting it done? You'd be homeless for 5 years. Now, Sashi Brown didn't try to deny that things got tense between he and Hue in the aftermath of the debacle and the failure. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, Sashi Brown said. Last week was a tough week for us from a PR perspective. PR? We're 0-8. That isn't PR. That's money out of people's pockets. But then, of course, Jimmy Haslam knows all about money out of people's pockets and not giving it back to them. It's been a tough week from a PR perspective. Fuck you. PR perspective. Team's 0-8. They're the worst team in football and have been the worst team in football, will continue to be the worst team in football, and he's worried about the public relations perspective. We'll continue to, but we understand while we haven't had the results that we aspire to, that those are going to be the types of stories that come out about us. Oh my God. Now we have to do everything we can to stay unified, and that's the key ingredient toward making this a successful effort on both parts. We'll get there. Got to stay unified. Well, Hue ain't talking, and Sashi saying that things were tense and heated. It goes on and on. Brown even hinted that the 1-23 start can take its toll. These builds are challenging, and they do place a lot of adversity on organizations. Now, how would he know that? What has he ever built? You see, this is the problem with people who have never done before. I can tell you what rebuilding is. I bought radio stations that were dying, and I turned them around. I know what a rebuild is. What has Sashi Brown ever rebuilt? Well, maybe somebody rebuilt his kitchen for him. I have no idea. But quit talking out of your ass, dude. Hue Jackson, for his part, asked if he's comfortable with the relationship with the front office. I'm not going to talk about any of those things. I can't hear you. No, I mean, that's a straightforward question. Are you comfortable with the relationship with the front office? I mean, you can lie to Deshaun Kaiser and just go, yes, I am. I mean, when somebody says to Hue Jackson or to Sashi Brown, are you afraid that the organization and Jimmy Haslam are going to fire you? They look at you and they lie and they go, oh, I think my job's secure. I think I'm safe. And you know they're going to be gone. You know they're going to be gone. But they have no willingness to actually answer a question that in any way, shape, or form could throw any shade on themselves. I'm not going to talk about any of these things. I think Sashi addressed all that. What I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to focus on coaching this football team and getting it to win, getting our coaches better, getting our players better, and find a way to win football games. Now, if you don't see a problem here, then you're blind, deaf, and dumb. Or maybe just dumb. I find it just incomprehensible. This whole incomprehensible to me. You got a problem and a rift, and obviously this is the second time for Hue, and these rifts never get better, and you have a bunch of incompetence at the top. And then, of course, the headlines start about, Josh Gordon, saying that he was high and drunk or whatever, every time he stepped out on a football field in Cleveland. Every time. That he probably had bloodshot eyes in meetings and nobody really called him out for it. Lovely. Just lovely. And some people were suggesting that he's saying this because he doesn't really want to play in Cleveland, but he's got no choice. If he's going to play football, he's going to play in Cleveland, at least for a very, very short time. Josh Gordon's quote, "The real work begins now. Let's go." No, the real work is the rest of your life, young man. Who gives a shit about football? All it's going to do is brain damage you. Bottom line for Josh Gordon is he's walking right back into the cesspool that created the stress and the anxiety, that created the drinking and the drug usage. And the first thing they tell people who are recovering addicts is, do not return to the scene of the crimes. The advice that I would have given him is to get out of football and do something else with your life, because obviously, I mean, whether you want to say it's the Browns, because he actually made comments about the fact that he'd go to the grocery store or whatever, he'd be out and about in public, and that people would say very undignified things to him, which doesn't really surprise me. It would happen in any town. I mean, why don't you go to, Washington, and why don't you follow Terrell Pryor and see what people are saying to him when he's in a grocery store? You were really worth the money, weren't you? Yeah. Fans are like that. When you're making millions of dollars and you're an NFL player, you got to get used to the scrutiny. And if you can't take it in Cleveland, you're not going to take it anywhere else. And it's going to make you start drinking and drugging again. And that's what's more important. That's the real work that's getting started here. I don't care whether Josh Gordon ever plays in Cleveland again, because he's not going to lift us to any further level, because there's no quarterback on the roster who can put the ball in his hands anyway. We see that the Packers are 0-3 since Aaron Rodgers went down. Quarterback is the most important position on the field. The fact that the Browns have no players at all on the field, without a quarterback, it would make no difference whether Josh Gordon was wide open or not, because the quarterbacks either couldn't get the ball to him or wouldn't see him. So that's the wisdom that I have as far as that is concerned. It's kind of a sad day if you're a baseball fan. Roy Halladay, the 8-time All-Star pitcher, retired in 2013 for the Phillies, dies in a plane crash in the Gulf of Mexico off Florida, only 40 years of age. Halladay was a tough competitor, man. He was a tough guy. And you hate to see this kind of thing happen. But I guess that's the way that goes down. Boy, is there any beacon of light in all of this stuff? Well, there's your Cleveland Cavaliers. And everyone's analyzing all the Instagrams that LeBron puts up and all of that happy horse shit. And now the word is, of course, that Dwayne Wade has said that the team, the starters, are playing like shit. And the word, the innuendo from the Innuendo Kings at Cleveland.com is that the people inside the organization are upset with what D. Wade said. And then, of course, J.R. Smith came out and said the same thing. And somebody said, now, wait a minute, aren't you part of the starting? Never mind. Since I talked to you last, we lost to the Atlanta Hawks. And by the way, the Celtics beat the Hawks. And the Hawks were on the second night of a back-to-back, and it took every minute and second of the game for them to win. So the fact that they were able to win by like 3 points or whatever, and the Cavaliers lost by 2, I mean, I wouldn't draw any great conclusions about the greatness of either team, except I'd rather be 9-2 than 4-6. How do you lose to the Hawks at home? It's a hell of a question. It's a hell of a question. But I can tell you what the ingredients, the recipe are, is when somebody like J.R. Smith refuses to take wide open shot and just passes the ball back to the guy who threw him and he just disappears. like Bob Dole's shriveled penis in a cold shower. You know, that's the ultimate lack of accountability. And you saw the dirty look that LeBron gave him. You saw that. I saw it. Everybody who was watching television saw it. This is how it all starts. Channing Frye had a wide open look and didn't make it, but at least he took the shot, which is more than I can say for J.R. Smith. Here's another thing that's kind of the up and coming thing to talk about is that Derrick Rose has a massive negative number with all of the members of the starting five on the floor, and that he's not getting any assists and he's not shooting the ball for shit. How does he fit in and why does he fit in? I don't know. But I can tell you this, the lineups the way they are right now, and I know you're sitting at home saying, but Isaiah Thomas, ... I know. But we've got to get to that point, and the rate we're going, by the time Isaiah Thomas comes to the Cavaliers, the season will be lost. Have to figure out a way to win some of these games and to figure out who to put on the floor. I don't know what the answer is, except the league sees blood and has just helped out the Milwaukee Bucks as you knew they would. If you've been watching the show for years, I told you last year the team of the future, of the immediate future, were the Boston Celtics, and that the team that was next on the list was the Milwaukee Bucks. But when we saw the Bucks earlier this year, it was obvious that they were still lacking critical pieces. Now, is Bledsoe a critical piece? Well, he can score the basketball. He's fast up and down the floor. And they didn't have to give up shit to get him. I mean, Greg Monroe, who's a human statue who can only go to his left, and a bunch of picks that are like in the 11th to 16th round, number in the first round, 11 to 16, and highly protected. They gave up nothing to get him. This is the same guy that in the offseason, the Cleveland Cavaliers were talking to the Suns about Kyrie Irving for Bledsoe and demanding Josh Jackson, remember? And now all of a sudden the Milwaukee Bucks get him for nothing. It sounds like exactly what happened in Oklahoma City, doesn't it? We have a better deal for Paul George, the Pacers say, but we'll take less. So goes the league. But you can see how they're lining up the East, and Cleveland is not a part of it. I do want to say that I want to find a link online. I'm going to go check out Reddit links because I'm not going to sit and watch this again with the players-only commentary on NBA TV. I swear to God, after the last time, I'll never watch that again. So I'm going to get off a little bit early today so I can make sure that I find the proper link so I can listen to our home announcers call the game, so I don't have to listen to a bunch of washed up ex-jocks who have no discernible broadcast skills. Meanwhile, Tyronn Lue is urging J.R. Smith to be more of a gunslinger. I'm kind of wishing that if that's the case, that he'll simply point the weapon at himself and eradicate himself. Some people are just dark clouds, Some people are just rainy day people. And bad news and bad luck follow them wherever they go. And J.R. Smith is well-traveled. And he has always had issues, and he always will. And who knows how he thinks? Nobody's been able to figure that out yet. And believe me, if LeBron James is giving him that look, it's like he's lost complete patience with him. And he was LeBron's project, remember, working out in the offseason and, and getting him to commit to a defensive stance and all of that stuff. And obviously, JR is so far off the tracks again that even LeBron has no answer for it. It's and I don't want him to be a gunslinger when he's shooting 23%. Right now, it's a big job. It's a real big job for Ty Lue. I have no idea what I would do in his position because it doesn't look like we have anybody who's really motivated to play. And you know what's going to happen tonight. We're going to just get flat out run off the freaking floor. I don't want to see this. They have every reason to come at us after we beat them on their home floor. It just doesn't feel good to me at all. This is a story that's kind of bubbling. Tony Dungy quoting Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, saying that Andrew Luck's injury is inside his head now. That's a bad choice of words. A real bad choice of words. You don't want to be talking about inside football players' heads when you're an owner of a football team. That's the first thing that came into my mind. And the next thing is, it doesn't help when your franchise quarterback is hurt and you're saying that he's a hypochondriac. Dungy made this comment during a live look-in at Dan Patrick's radio show during its television simulcast on the Audience Network, which gets shown on DirecTV in a number of different channels. I know Channel 500 is one that it pops up on. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't, Dungy said during the look-in. Is he going to play? Irsay made a comment about 6 weeks ago. You know, it's inside his head now. Patrick followed up by asking the former Colts coach, wait, it's inside Luck's head? Yeah, he said, that's what I guess, you know, he goes, yeah, he said that, I guess, when I was up there for Peyton's ceremony, Dungy said. The comments were not made privately, but made publicly. You know, what I can tell you is this. The reality of the NFL is that playing injured is part of the culture of the game. And if you take too much time, people will question your heart and your desire to stand and fall with your comrades. And we've seen it a gazillion times, and quarterbacks are usually placed at the top of the list. See Vince Young. Kind of unbelievable, isn't it? I don't think that Andrew Luck's faking it, and I don't think anything's in his head, but I think the pressure on franchises and franchise quarterbacks is to play no matter what. What else can I tell you? I mean, it's not like I have a ton to talk about today because the news is the news. No, I don't think the Browns are going to win a game still, and I'm on the 0-16 train, and I'm happy about that. There's Ohio State, and now Urban Meyer's being questioned, and quite honestly, Ohio State didn't deserve to win against Penn State. I told you that the following day after that game. But losing that way to Iowa, they have no defense at Ohio State, and they need to bring somebody in who knows what they're doing defensively. That was an embarrassment. And I know, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, you never know what's going to happen. But, boy, it was almost like that win, that escape, that Houdini act they did with Penn State, it came back and caught up with them, drained them of something, because they didn't come out looking like they wanted to play from the opening kick. Never got better through the whole game. Now the questions are being asked about Barrett again. I know. I wish I had some ray of light for you, Ohio, Northeast Ohio sports fans. Today is a new day, and the Cavaliers can come out and try to play a serious basketball game. Or they can just piss it away again. 4-6, who would have thought this? But I'll tell you this, that if they get blown out in Cleveland on their home court again, by a team that they beat when they played a good game earlier in the season, I don't know. This thing could implode. It could seriously implode. And I don't know why. I wish I were a fly in the locker room because something ain't clicking. And it's my feeling that all LeBron James teams have in common is at least a camaraderie that develops chemistry. But you know, it really does concern me when even in the open introductions of the team and the players and the little handshakes and all that Derrick Rose doesn't have one. And he hasn't bought in one iota into being a Cleveland Cavalier, and he doesn't give a flying fuck about being a Cleveland Cavalier. He gives a flying fuck about his career. But you know something? They say when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And I really believe that when you're in Cleveland, you at least express the camaraderie. At least you express that. Derrick Rose isn't even trying. Just sticks his hand out and taps people as they go by. He doesn't emote any joy or happiness or camaraderie with teammates. He does nothing. Hold on a sec. I have to check the temperature of something that's cooking. Hold on. Well, I guess I don't have to. Well, let me see. Oh. Okay. It's done. All right. It's done. How good is that? All right. But it bothers me that a guy who's brought in, supposedly he wants to be part of a deep playoff run, and he can't even adopt the culture of the team that he's joining. I mean, what we've lost is a massive amount of camaraderie on this team. And it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't pass Mr. Moohead's eye test. It just looks like a scrap heap. People who were just assembled who have no reason to be here together. It's what it looks like to me. And how you bring that all together, I have no idea. But I do know this, that this, as I've stated before, is the last year for LeBron James in Cleveland. He can't stay in this situation forever. And it has all the look of that. And who knows what at the level of LeBron James marketing wing, who knows what players already know what the future holds for LeBron James. Who knows? Who knows? But when I see D Wade kind of still smiling in the locker room, and you know, there doesn't seem to be any urgency whatsoever. And I can see D Wade just becoming LeBron's James Jones in a heartbeat. You can see him morphing into a towel waver. And I can guarantee you Derrick Rose won't be part of the LeBron James train wherever LeBron goes. That I can tell you. All Rose wants is another contract. Because of his age, he figures he's due one last payday. And he's not worth it. Nobody's going to think so in the league either. League's gotten young. League's gotten fast. Sharpshooters are sharpshooters. And we don't got young guys. The game is moving awfully fast. We'll see what happens. That's my update for today. Now, I always tell people what's coming up on the docket, and there will be a Friday show, so don't worry about that. And there will be a Sunday halftime and postgame show. Don't worry about that. But the following week, there will be a Monday show, but I am leaving South Carolina and going back to my digs in Florida on Tuesday, a week from today. So you probably won't be seeing or hearing from me on the show until Friday of that next week. So we'll have a Monday show and a Friday show, because right now I have no internet in my Florida home because the idiots at Frontier canceled the account. So we've got to get that all put in. And that's supposed to happen on Wednesday, the day after I arrive. But I want to make sure. But I will keep you all updated via Twitter and all those good things, all the social media, as to what's happening with the next edition after the Monday show of Moohead Radio. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll be watching the Cavaliers and hopefully not cringing, and hopefully you will be too. Until Friday, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.